In this video, we will carry on the on-prem lab build series. This is part 2. This video, we will discuss how to install VMware Workstation Pro on a Linux machine, as well as install the unlocker so we can use Mac VMs. And the third part, which is not compatible or not available, which is the VMware Convertor standalone. That is only available in a Windows environment at the moment. So we only have 2 pieces to cover in this video. Without further ado, let's get started. I have 3 versions of Linux installed. We have Linux Mint. I'll go full screen here just to show you. We have Linux Mint. We have the VMware Workstation software already installed. And it looks very similar to the Windows version. Same clicks we go through. And as you see, we have it all ready to go. Rather than going through each video showing each version of Linux, I wanted to just show you that Linux Mint and Ubuntu both have installations running in a very similar fashion. And have the patch installed for us to do the Mac OS VMs. So now let's go to PopOS. PopOS does not have it installed. We will then now go through and show you how to install it on Linux. So the first thing we need to do is we need to download, as we did the last time, we need to go to VMware's website. And I will put these links in the description below. You're going to go to the VMware website, and this time, instead of downloading the Windows version, you're going to download the Linux version. The next part, we are going to go to that GitHub site to download the unlocker. Click here, download the zip, and then from there, we just minimize. We go to our download folder, which when you download, show you that here actually, sorry. So in the browser, you can see show all downloads, and here's the downloads we have here. Okay. So we copy them to our desktop. So I'll show you that again. So we go to the downloads folder. Let's open up this properly, sorry. Show all downloads. Get rid of the browser. So basically you just move them, right? You just move them up to the desktop by just drag and drop. Or you can right click and say move to, and then move to the desktop. And once you move it to the desktop, you're all done. So chances are you already know how to use Linux. If you're looking for a Linux learning lab here, that'll be in a future lab. So right now we have them on the desktop, and we need to make sure we unzip them. So you want to say extract here. And this here is the actual installer. So we don't need to see the files, we just need to see these. So the first thing we want to do is open up a window. See if we can get this down to a smaller size here. And there we go. Oh. We have a terminal window open. So if you don't know how to open it up in your applications, you can just type terminal or just see here terminal. Okay. Go back to the desktop. So now we're on the desktop. We want to ls. We want to see where we are. If you're not in a desktop folder, so let's assume we're outside here. So you want to type cd, which is change directory, capital D, and hit tab. And it tells you the desktop. So there we go. So if you hit cd D, it's going to show you everything named D. And if you type de tab, it'll then say desktop. ls is a directory command. So what we want to do now is we want to go and we want to install the VMware Workstation. So pop this down for a second. So our commands to get the VMware Workstation installed on PopOS, you can just do this command. So we'll copy this command. We'll go in here and paste. Okay. If it doesn't take it, you just type sudo sh and then capital V and then M, and you should be able to what we can do is copy here. Copy and paste. And hit enter. And then you need your password. So now it's going through the install procedure. Now while it's doing that, on Ubuntu, you may need to type these commands first and then run this command. So a little difference with Ubuntu Linux. So far, the Mint and PopOS both worked with just this command. And there is, if you Google out there, the error you will see right here. You'll see. Oh, I don't have the command. Anyway, there will be an error saying it can't install. It's missing a GCC component. So you need to make sure you do this before you install, and then do this. So remember, this is for Ubuntu only. And that's for all versions of the Linux. So let's go back to our Linux. It's now installed. So now what we want to do is check to see if it is. So let's make this full screen again so we can see it clear. And let's go through the application menu, and we see VMware is installed. We open it. The very first thing we see is the license screens, and we don't want to join. And then of course we need to type our password because it's got to write to the configuration file. Okay, and up comes the VMware Workstation software. Let's click create a new machine, custom. We'll leave that as default. We'll say no, I will install the operating system later. And now you see the basics, Windows, Linux, and ESX. Cancel this, close this, and let's go back to our command line, our terminal window. Now we want to say ls again, and we want to pick unlock or master. So you want to say cd, and then type un, and hit enter. With the tab key and hit enter. Now we do an ls, and now we have the other commands we need to run. So let's go back out of full screen for a second so I can show you my command. So the command you need to run now is we need to run these commands. So we could copy them from here. We should be able to paste them in here. Oh, okay, it's only going to remember outside the VM. So if you have troubles doing this on a Linux machine, you would just be able to do it directly. I'm running them in a VM to show you. So let's just type the commands by themselves. So sudo apt-get install Python 3.6, hit enter, and then it'll try to install it. Now you want to say install Python. Okay, and it basically says we already have it installed, I believe. So let's see, it already has a newer version. So next command we want to go to, and these are only necessary if you're missing them. That's why I suggest typing them. This next command is we're going to give permissions to write to that VMware folder. So sudo chmod. So this is a basically a permissions change. We're doing everybody can read and write, and to just this folder. And hit enter, and then now it writes the command. Now we want to type in sh and then lnx-install.sh. So that's the command up here. Right here. Okay, we want to hit enter. And now it says permissions denied. Well, because we haven't done it, we should actually do a sudo in front of that command. So it elevates us. So here we go. Now it says it can't find the tools. That's fine for now. Let's just leave it the way it is. But you do have to make sure you type the sudo command in front, because now you're just basically elevating your permissions, as most Linux users know. And now what we can do is minimize this. Let's open up the full screen again. And let's see if we can open the VMware software again. We want to put this on our favorites. Let's go here, and it goes down here. So let's open up Workstation, create a machine, custom, next. I will install an operating system later, and there you go. So there we go. We've met our objective now to be able to install Apple VMs as well as Windows and Linux VMs on Linux. So if you do decide to jump over to Linux, you can use Workstation and virtualize from here. And that covers pretty much the major versions of Linux. Now, these are all based on Ubuntu, the core, I guess called a Debian core. I'm not a Linux expert by any means of stretch of the imagination, but I am learning more and more with Linux these days from a GUI perspective, because I am joining the masses out there that are starting to flip from Windows 10 to Linux, because you can do gaming on Linux now. Just as an add-on to this video, you can actually do some gaming on Linux now. So instead of running Windows 10 or perhaps upgrading to Windows 11, you could just go right to Linux and start doing most things you normally can. So that'll also be part of this video series. So I wanted to show you a series of video where the first one we installed everything on Windows, as you see here. Move this over here. So on Windows we have it, and now I have in Linux, I have installed on Ubuntu, Cinnamon, and PopOS how to install the VMware software. So this will give you exactly what you need to do your virtualization inside of on a Linux machine. I know we're in a VM Linux machine doing VMs inside of a machine. We can do that. That's the whole thing about having a VMware lab or a virtualization lab, is we can do anything we want. So you could flip between PopOS, you could flip between Ubuntu or Cinnamon if you wanted to play with this. And now Cinnamon, I call it Cinnamon, but it's called Mint Cinnamon. So this video will come to a close now that we've done what we needed to do. And if there's any questions, please comment below, like, subscribe to the video. I will bring some more videos coming soon with part 3 going forward. I'm going to keep building this the series, capping it off with perhaps going to a full desktop switch to going to Linux instead of Windows for those who might want to do that. So thank you very much for watching. See you next time.